It was supposed to be just another peaceful dinner, a moment to unwind away from the chaos of the day. But when I walked into one of the most exclusive restaurants in town, I wasn't expecting the cold reception I received. "Do you have a reservation?" the host asked, scanning his list with a dismissive glance. I calmly responded, "Yes, under Johnson," but his face changed instantly. "I'm sorry, we don't have a reservation for you," he said with a polite smile, clearly trying to dismiss me. I could feel my blood boil. I had been here dozens of times. I was a regular, a loyal customer. And yet tonight, something was different. They didn't want me here. They saw me as someone unworthy of their finest table. I walked out of the restaurant trying to shake off the humiliation. But the anger I felt only grew. I was going to make them regret this. Not just for me, but for every person they had ever turned away. 10 minutes later, they would find out just who they had crossed. Because I wasn't about to let this slide, I was about to take control. It had been a long day, the kind where everything seemed to pile up one after the other, leaving me drained and ready for a moment of peace. I had just finished an exhausting meeting with the board of directors, and I was craving something simple. A quiet dinner at one of the finest places in town, just to escape the madness. I chose a luxurious restaurant downtown, known for its impeccable service and exclusive clientele. I had dined there many times before, always treated with the highest level of respect and care. But tonight, things were different. As soon as I stepped inside, I felt the usual sense of superiority in the air. Rich patrons enjoying their lavish dinners, waiters circling like trained professionals. But tonight, something didn't feel quite right. A host approached me with a forced smile, his eyes flicking over me before meeting my gaze. "Good evening, madam," he said. "Do you have a reservation?" I nodded, adjusting my jacket. "I believe it's under the name Johnson. I reserved a table for one." He paused for a moment, running his fingers over the book. His smile faltered as he scanned the pages. "I'm afraid we don't have a reservation for you. Perhaps you've made it elsewhere?" My brow furrowed. "I'm certain it's here. I made the reservation myself just this morning. Could you check again?" The host hesitated before offering a small shrug. "It's a busy night, ma'am. We're full, and unfortunately, we cannot seat you without a reservation." I was stunned for a moment. I had dined here countless times, and never once had I encountered this level of disregard. I knew how this game worked. They reserved their best tables for VIPs, those with the right amount of influence, money, or status. And I had earned my place here. "Is there any way you can check again?" I pressed. "I'm a regular. I've been here before." But the host merely smiled politely, his eyes now shifting uneasily. "I'm sorry, ma'am. You'll have to try another time." It was then that I realized I was being dismissed. Something about this situation didn't sit right with me. I was no longer just another guest. This wasn't a simple case of bad luck. This felt like a deliberate attempt to push me aside. I took a deep breath. I had worked far too hard to let a petty issue like this ruin my night. But I also knew this wasn't just about dinner. It was about respect. And tonight, I wasn't going to leave without it. I turned on my heels and walked out of the restaurant, my heels clicking sharply against the marble floors. But I didn't leave. Not yet. I knew exactly what I needed to do. The manager had to be made aware. This wasn't a mistake. It was a decision I was determined to change. I made a quick call to my assistant, requesting a meeting with the restaurant's management. Within minutes, I was on the phone with the manager, who offered me an apologetic tone, explaining that a mix-up had occurred with the reservation system. But I wasn't interested in excuses. "You know who I am, don't you?" I asked, my voice calm but firm. "You know the level of business I bring. You know the power I hold. And yet you chose to ignore me in favor of someone else, just because I wasn't deemed worthy of your elite table. Let me be clear, I will not be ignored." The manager stumbled over his words, offering apology after apology, but I wasn't done. "I'm going to give you a choice," I said. "You can either offer me the table I reserved, or you can deal with the consequences of your decision." The manager was quiet for a moment before responding, his voice now a little shaky. "We can certainly make it right for you, ma'am. I'll have a table ready for you immediately." But by then it was too late. "I don't need a table," I replied. "I've decided that I'll buy this restaurant and everything in it. You can keep your table. I'll be taking the entire business from you." The line went silent. I could hear the disbelief in the manager's breath, but there was no turning back now. It wasn't just about dinner. It was about respect, recognition, and taking back control. I wasn't going to let anyone decide my worth. Not in my own city, not in my own space. I made the necessary calls and arranged the paperwork. Within a few hours, the restaurant was officially mine. Every employee, every asset, every corner of that space under my control. When the manager arrived later that evening, he found me sitting in the VIP lounge with a glass of wine in hand. He stood frozen for a moment, taking in the sight of me, the woman who had walked in demanding service and left owning everything. "Good evening," I said, the tone of my voice colder than ever. He didn't respond immediately. He had no words. The power shift was undeniable. The very institution that had tried to diminish me now bent to my will. As the days passed, the restaurant became a constant reminder of the power I held, but also of the lesson they had failed to learn. It wasn't about the money. It was about respect, about showing people that their actions have consequences and that no one, no matter their position, can treat others as though they don't matter. Soon word spread about the new owner, and my name became synonymous with strength, with a quiet form of justice. The staff, who had once scoffed at me, now treated me with the utmost care and professionalism. I didn't need to say anything. My presence alone was enough to command respect. But the real change came when I decided to implement my vision. I transformed the restaurant from a place of elitism to one where everyone, no matter their background, felt welcome. I invested in the community, supported local charities, and ensured that every employee was treated with dignity and fairness. It wasn't long before the same people who had once turned me away were now praising my decisions, applauding the positive changes I brought to the restaurant. But I didn't need their approval. I had already won. In the end, it wasn't about the restaurant or the title. It was about reclaiming my worth, about proving that no one, no matter how high they may seem, can ever diminish the power and influence of someone who refuses to be ignored. As I walked through the restaurant one final time, now fully under my control, I smiled. Not because of the victory I had claimed, but because I had done it on my terms. And that in itself was the sweetest victory of all.